What's up, guys? William Wallace here from SPY Options Traders. Really quick, I want to give you the market recap on SPY today, November 4th. So we had, as you guys are aware, we had some record highs set on Friday. We had a continuation, big continuation of that today. Now, today's candle, today's trading action was kind of sideways and was consolidating. But what I want you to notice here before we continue is we had this big gap up on Friday, and it just continued. Huge candle here on Friday, closed with a nice top over the top of our trend line, which we've been watching here for some time in this channel. So we talked about this channel here, we broke out of it, and what I was looking for today is confirmation of the breakout by having a candle wholly on the outside of this trend line over the top. So the danger there was that we would look up and fail and come back down through this line, but we maintained it. What we do have to consider, though, is that there is this gap area between Friday's candle and today's candle. But let's take a little bit closer look at this on today's. So with today's action now, because we are in such a higher move here, we don't really have support and resistance at this new highs that have been tested yet. So here's what I've kind of done. What I did this morning with the guys in the chat is pulled out the Fibonacci's and looking at yesterday's high at 306.19, today's pre-market high at 308.05 to kind of find where the support would be. Now, one of the things you have to be careful of is when we have this big of a gap, this gap up into the open like this, you got to be careful about those situations, because typically when SPY gaps up, it's going to want to retrace downward on the in the intraday trading, the real hour trading, and test that area for support and resistance, finding buyers and sellers to see what's there before it continues its move up. Now, because we had this big of a gap up, though, didn't really expect it to come all the way back down, $1.50, $2, whatever it was, all the way. So what I was looking for is perhaps somewhere with the fib lines to find some support and resistance that it would hold, and thinking probably about this 50% line at 307.12 would be the enough gap filled to gap and go from there, filled back to 307.12 and then keep going forward. What we actually ended up having today is we had 307.34 really holding the line for most of the day, but we had a lot of lower highs, and it was looking pretty bearish. And this was not unexpected, because when you had this big gap up, we need to fill back some of that area and then go. But the action was very choppy, as you can see. So it wasn't something that we could really play a lot of really good, nice plays that we normally play. It was a lot of scalping. If you could scalp this stuff right here, there was actually the indicators were indicating these tops and bottoms pretty well. So it was pretty decent scalping action, but not really very good trading action for what we normally do. This at the open, what we kind of saw was pretty clear directionally, was this nice green 1 minute candle here, and then a bearish engulfing here afterwards. So we played puts this morning for just a very short trim down to 307.34. It's very short play. Like I say, it was all scalping today. It wasn't really any long-term plays. I was actually anticipating that to go ahead and hit the 307.12, but that's not what happened. Now, as the day progressed, we did actually play nugget puts at the morning. Those worked really well, actually, and played a Microsoft put later in the day that paid pretty well. But for SPY, there wasn't really a ton going on. Now, there was a couple of patterns that really took a long time today to kind of develop and show themselves, and that's just because today was consolidation. The one that you really couldn't see until about 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon is this overriding channel, and this is really what the price action was today. It's just consolidation in the channel, really from here to here, and it just kind of bounced around to this channel at the the 50%, 25% lines inside of the channel, up and down, really stretching this channel out all day, but not giving us very much to work with as far as really good action plays. But that's kind of what we expected today, having such a big gap up, setting records highs 2 days in a row. we expect to have some consolidation. What we don't want is for, if you're bullish anyways, what we don't want is for buyers to get taken over by sellers today, and we see this gap fill and consolidation turn into just a big drop. And I was actually almost afraid that that was going to happen here, because we broke 307.12 and bounced, and then maybe we're going to go back down, but this line here at 307 held. So we are at least establishing some support and resistance areas that we can test later. But I think overall it's still very bullish for today. Still a pretty decent day. I'm going to show you one more thing. So we're keeping that in mind. We're going to look for this to go forward and the consolidation to do something a little bit different. Here's what I wanted to also show you guys. It's kind of in the back of my mind. So I'm watching the VIX, and there's a lot of people online saying, "Oh God, the VIX, it's down there at 12. It's super low. That means the market's about to tank because every time the VIX gets low." No, the VIX gets low a lot. You can see it stays pretty low a lot. It's when it spikes that's when you want to watch, and things are going to turn around. So I'm keeping an eye on the VIX just because it is so low. I want to keep an eye on the spikes, because obviously it's the market. It doesn't go straight up. And so right now it's gone straight up for 3 days. It's not going to keep going straight up. So we have to keep that in mind. And what I want to show you guys is we're going to overlay the SPX over this. I'm keeping an eye on 15 on the VIX. And when the VIX sort of crosses 15, is when we have these really direction changes. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on as far as the VIX. You know that with SPY is moving up as high as it is right now, it's going to come back down at some point. How much, how far, that's all a question. The one danger that we do have with all of these gapping ups is we have some danger that we are going to go back and fill those areas and fail when we try to do that, right? Because we have these gap areas here, and those gap areas are full of areas of untested support and resistance, completely untested because we're at new highs. So it's very possible that those areas fail. And Friday's high was really kind of a weak high. So it's not, if we come all the way back down to 306.19 and fell there, it's not unprecedented to head back kind of pretty far south. It's not that big of a deal really in the long run, as long as we hold up some of these areas above 300, 304. But just keep in mind, there are gap areas where we could get some pretty significant drops, and I'm just keeping my eye on that. But keeping an eye on the VIX too, just to make sure those drops are not just consolidation and maybe something more. It's just something to keep in the back of your mind. So anyways, William Wallace here, SPY Options Traders. Look forward to seeing you guys in the chat. If you're not in the chat already, look at the link below, www.spyoptionstraders.com. You can join us. Other than that, talk to you guys later.